program is to print the transpose of a given matrix. Transpose is nothing but changing the rows to columns, columns to rows. Now we'll be using the same program what we have used in the earlier. Just I am reading these elements. Now I'll be using one more matrix, that is transpose matrix with some size 3 by 3. Transpose matrix of size 3 by 3. Here, after reading the size of matrix, now we'll be requesting the user to enter the elements of matrix. This is how we need to read the matrix elements. And the next thing here is, now we need to transpose the elements, which means we need to exchange the elements of rows into columns and columns to rows. So in order to do that, I'm using two for loops for I equal to 0, I less than rows, I plus plus. Next, for j equal to 0, j less than columns, j plus plus. So here, transpose of ij, I am storing matrix of ji. So I am storing the elements of matrix of ji. So this is how the elements will be stored in the transpose matrix. Now print the elements of matrix, and here I'll be removing these. I want to just print the matrix elements. This is matrix of ij. So this is how we are printing the matrix elements. And similarly, I want to print transpose of a matrix element, for which I'm just copying and pasting here. Print the transpose matrix elements. Print the elements of transpose matrix. So the transpose matrix is transpose of ij. So this is how we are going to transpose any given matrix. Now let us execute and check. So here we are giving enter the size of the matrix. I am taking the size of the matrix as 3 by 3. It means totally there are 9 elements. I am giving those 9 elements. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 and 9. Totally there are 9 elements. So here we are printing ij, which is not needed. That is the reason we are getting that wrong output. I have removed this inj. Now let us execute this code and check whether we are going to get the correct output or not. So here, look in this code, matrix of ij and transpose of ij. Let me execute the code. So here, enter the size of matrix. So let me enter the size of the matrix as 3 by 3, which means totally there are 9 elements. So I am giving those 9 elements 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So these are the 9 elements which are there in the matrix. Now you can see the elements of matrix are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. And the elements of transpose matrix are 1. So you can see this complete column 147 column has shifted into rows 147. Next 258, 258. Complete row is been given in a, now complete column is been given as a row, right? So 3, 6, 9. This is how we get rows and rows interchange with columns. Columns interchange with rows. Anything is fine. This is how we get transpose of a given matrix. So here, your actual logic lies here. Once the logic is been written, then you can print the elements. This is for our reference to check what are the original matrix elements, and this is to check whether we got a correct output or not. This is how we need to understand the logic and write the code. Next program is to print upper triangular matrix. Upper triangular matrix is the elements below the main diagonal elements are 0. Elements below the main diagonal elements are 0. So such kind of a matrix we call it as upper triangular matrix. Hash include stdio.h main. So I have initialized matrix of size 3 by 3. Next rows, columns, I, j. So I am removing this. I don't require this transpose. Rows and columns, we know how to read the size of a matrix. Now, in order to read the matrix elements, we require 2 for loops. Same thing as we have seen in the previous program. Now, print the elements of upper triangular matrix. That is upper triangular matrix. Now, in order to print this upper triangular matrix, same we are using 2 for loops, and the logic here is, this is the logic behind printing the upper triangular matrix. That is, if I is greater than j, printf the element as 0, whatever the input we have took, and we are just making the element as 0, else printf print the original value what we have given as an input. So I'll explain you clearly. You can look here. Let me consider there are 3 by 3, which means there are 9 elements in the matrix. So the first element index will be 0, 0. Second element index will be 0, 1. Third element index will be 0, 2. Next, second row first element will be 1, 0. Second row second element will be 1, 1. Second row third element will be 1, 2. Third row first element will be 2, 0. Third row second element will be 2, 1. Third row last element will be 2, 2. So you can see the index here. If I want to print the upper triangular matrix, which means the below main diagonal elements must be 0. So in order to make those elements as 0, the logic here is I value, that is ij, okay, I value should be greater than j. I value should be greater than j. So if I value is greater than j, only then it will be making the value as 0. Rest of all the values it is giving as matrix of ij, the original element whatever we have read. So this is for the index, right? Let us execute the code and check. Now I am giving the size of the matrix as 3 rows, 3 columns, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Totally 9 elements in a matrix. Now the elements of upper triangular matrix are, so here you can closely see here, the elements of the upper triangular matrix where the below the diagonal elements, so we made it as 0. Actually we have read the elements here, but you can see here we have made the below diagonal elements as 0, and this triangle we are going to call it as upper triangular matrix. If in the problem statement, if they are asking like to print the sum of upper triangular matrix elements, means here we want to take the below diagonal elements sum. Just write if I greater than j followed by sum is equal to sum plus matrix of ij. Then you are going to get only these 3 elements sum, the below diagonal elements sum. So this is how we can print the upper triangular matrix elements. Similarly, we shall see the next problem statement to print lower triangular matrix elements. To print lower triangular matrix elements. So here the elements of lower triangular matrix elements. Now with the help of the logic you can clearly understand when I is greater than j we are going to get upper triangular matrix. When I is less than j we are going to get lower triangular matrix. When I is greater than j we are getting upper triangular matrix. When I is less than j we are going to get lower triangular matrix. That is, above the diagonal elements the elements will be 0. Now let us execute this code and check. Now I am going to give the same 3 rows 3 columns 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Now here you can see the elements above the main diagonal elements, that is 1, 5, 9 are diagonal elements. Above the main diagonal elements you see zeros. Okay, then this kind of a matrix we are going to call it as lower triangular matrix. So a lower triangular matrix in which above main diagonal elements there will be zeros. Such kind of a matrix we call it as lower triangular matrix. Similarly, if you want to get the sum of the uppermost these 3 values sum, then we need to say I less than j followed by sum is equal to sum plus matrix of ij. You will be getting the sum of these 3 elements, right? So this is how we can get the sum, as well as we can also print the lower triangular matrix elements. Lower triangular matrix elements. I hope every one of you understood it.